Hello, everyone. It's Joseph coming in from iConixxx. Thank you very much for joining us on iConixxx. As you know, you've come to YouTube and it's iConixxx Live. And thank you for joining us. Watch all the series. I believe that we are on about week 25, perhaps 25 or 26.
27,
And
Joseph, 27.
27. Yeah, it's getting ahead of me a little bit. But I will say, though, that not one of these documentary interviews has been a bore. There's always something that you're going to take out of it, always something that you're going to laugh about. I know it's important that you actually get, as I always say, get a piece of paper and a pen, because you never know when something's going to be mentioned, a quote that you might want to write down, a book that you may want to read that one of our icons talks about. But we are always very proud to have the icons that are here with us. They are definitely someone in our industry that's left some form of a footprint. And it could possibly be something of a technique you're doing in the salon right now that you're just doing, not knowing that it's actually come from someone that's created that, which most things do. So with that being said, I'm excited to interview and talk to our iconic Candy today, but I'm going to pass it off to the fabulous Miss Chris Sorby, who is an amazing friend and sister from another mother of mine. And together, her and I are creating iConixxx, which is becoming quite a sweep across the nation. Chris, welcome from the UK.
Thanks, Joseph. You know, I'm so excited today because today's guest icon is, wait for it, hairdresser, educator, salon owner, academy owner, entrepreneur, creator of Sunlight's Balayage, and she's the queen of social media. She is none other than Candy Shaw, aka the Ballet Llama. Candy, welcome to iConixxx.
Oh my gosh, all that stuff just sounds so tiring. Oh my goodness.
That's a lot.
No, I am so excited to be here and I'm thrilled to be a part of this. Thank you so much for including me.
Man, thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's an absolute honor. And I was delighted when you found time in your busy life to be able to squeeze us in.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Speaking of your life, Candy, what do you owe your parents?
Oh my gosh, everything. My father was a competition hairdresser, was one of the first Americans to ever win the world championship for the Marcel Iron back in 1960 in Amsterdam. He taught me everything I know. I mean, he had an 8th grade education, which was crazy, you know, to think about that he, you know, became a hairdresser and did what he did. And I just owe him everything. My mother was a makeup artist, which is really ironic. And she was actually my father's model, which was great. You know, so she modeled for my father, and she could do the front of her hair better than he could do it. So she'd do the front while he'd do the back for all the hair competition.
I love it. I love it. So that was 1966, did you say?
He won in actually 1962. I believe it was.
Oh my God.
The first American to ever beat the Europeans in Marcel ironing. So that's how he got his start, was obviously all through competition work. And I sort of miss that part of our industry. I don't think a lot of your students will even really know about what that was like. I mean, they think competition is all Naha, right? But my father competed every single weekend of his career back in the day.
Yeah, you're right. There were way more competitions in those. And the fact, though, that someone from the US would be competing in Holland is just, that was unfathomable in those days.
Absolutely. And that's, you're so right, because obviously most of the big competitions were all over in Europe. Now, granted, in North America, there was tons of them, but they were a lot smaller in not only size, but in, I guess, prestige, if you will.
Yeah. And they certainly opened doors.
Without any question, open doors. And more importantly, Chris, they made relationships. You know, my father was friends with every hairdresser out there. And, you know, when you think about back in those days, they didn't have social media. They didn't have ways to meet each other. The only way they met each other was with a comb and a can of hairspray.
Yeah,
So
shoot.
that's how they got to know each other.
Yeah.
That is interesting. That is
Yeah, which,
truly very fascinating. I don't want to ask this, but I'm just going to come out and ask it. Where is your father right now?
He's probably at home sitting on his screen porch reading a book. He's retired after 61 years in the industry. And I do love to
Oh
say
my.
that the last day he worked, he did a new guest, which was amazing. Because, you know, when you
What?
think about somebody who's been in the industry that long, you think they're all just teasing hair and doing a bunch of old ladies. But it's not true. I mean, my father, literally, the last day he was in our salon, he did a new guest. You know, and he was known for doing second, third, fourth generation families. And he really taught me everything I know. Really, really super, super grateful, super blessed to have come
Sorry,
through.
Chris.
Right.
Sorry, Candy. I've got to jump back in. Don't you, could you, I think, don't you, I want you, I think we should see if he'll talk to us.
Oh, of course, he would love to.
Oh my God, what a history,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't want to change the subject on Candy, but Candy, you just highlighted a major, major icon who created by passing sperm to egg a icon in you. I mean, your father's an icon. That, you know what? I really feel I want to jump in and say, you know what? Please let him know that I'm not a stalker, but I would love to stalk him.
Absolutely.
Because when we hang up later, I'll get the info. But that would be amazing. I think he's got stories to tell.
Yeah, well, he'll tell it to you straight. I'm
Yeah,
not
and
sure if the new generation wants to hear it, but
well, you know what?
that's exactly who they should hear.
I was just gonna say the ones that complain about Marcelling
yeah,
need to hear this shit. We need to bank it. We need to bank it.
it's so funny because, you know, I was reading over some of y'all's preliminary questions, just kind of getting myself warmed up. And one of the questions that you guys asked was, you know, what maybe there's a lot of ways you put several questions, but what is my most disappointing thing about this industry, or what's going on right now? Or what could I bring back? Maybe something I could bring back. And that is that my father wore a tie to work every day. And the way people dress in our industry right now is disgusting. So if you're out there listening and you want to really right your wrong and make good great, it's time for you to really take a long, hard look at yourself and realize that if you're in the beauty business, you better start looking like it, not going.
And if you're, and yes, Candy, and if you're building a clientele.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that so many people go to work in bedazzled sweatpants and flip-flops with their hair on top of their head, and they call them a beauty expert. So, you know, my father was just very disciplined like that. And Chris, you know that coming from Trevor and all those very disciplined hairdressers. I mean, you did not sit down when my father was working. I mean, you stood at attention, and you know, he would do 40, 50 ladies in a day. And, you know, it's crazy to think back of the way that whole, just that whole part of our history. So many don't know that, you know.
And were you right there, Candy? Were you right there? Were you down by his feet?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I never went to beauty school, actually. That's a fact. So in Georgia, you don't have to go to beauty school. You can actually apprentice. So I never went to beauty school. I learned from my father. And then I moved to Europe for a few months and worked with Jean-Louis Deville and some folks over there learning French cutting. So no, I never went to beauty school. So the only way I knew how to do anything was by sight, you know, just watching it over and over, meticulously over and over. And that's how I found my stride. I never went to college either, which was, you know, you can't even imagine you're not going to college. You didn't go to beauty school. Like, are you crazy? But I love it now because both of my brothers went to college, and they're still borrowing money from me. So, you know.
And one's a lawyer, one's a doctor, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, one is an engineer and one is a clinical psychologist.
And they're still borrowing money.
But still, I mean, I do love to tease them a little bit about you spent mom and dad's all their money, you know, but anyway, we
Wow. Wow.
Hairdressers have such great earning potential. I think so many folks don't know what you can do with your career and your life. They think that everybody is, you know, a $15 an hour hairdresser. It's just not even.
I despise that.
Yeah.
I spit on them.
Agree.
Well, I want to say though, Chris, not to interrupt you again for the third time, but this brought me into the question I was going to ask Candy on where she started. So if you were an apprentice, then share with me what age you were when you began to apprentice for your father, correct?
Yes. So I was 13 actually.
Oh, come on.
And actually, this is kind of a funny little quick story. I was dyslexic. So I had a learning disability. So the only way I could get through college or high school was by cutting hair in the locker room in trade for math homework. Okay, because I couldn't pass the damn class. And so the only way for me to pass was for me to just say, okay, because we had a school where men had a hair code, you know, it had to be above the brow, off the collar, off the ear, right? So I thought, okay, Candy, you're just going to have to be an entrepreneur and figure out a way to pass class. So that's how I did it. I started cutting hair in the locker room, and I would get home from school every day and I would ride my bicycle, which was about, I'm going to say maybe about 6 blocks from my house to my daddy's salon. And I worked there, and I'd sweep the floor, fold the towels, comb the hair, learn to shampoo. Then from shampooing, I went to passing rollers and pins. And then from there on to eventually learning to cut hair and color hair.
Love that. I love that. Totally. I love that. I mean, that is a true story.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Until my father got so tired of me, he made me go work for somebody else.
And what was
another salon?
So, were you in Atlanta then when you were apprenticing?
Yes, I was in Atlanta.
Okay. Wow.
But I was a little bit of a hellion, you know. I was trying to run the business for my dad at 18, 17, you know, and so finally he was like, okay, look, sister, your name is not on the door, okay? So but I will say all my life, my proudest thing was being introduced as Jameson Shaw's daughter, you know, and I think when I really felt like I had success was when it all sort of flipped and people introduced my dad as Candy Shaw's father. And you know, the moment that kind of shifted was really a big moment for me, you know.
Oh my God.
I felt like I had arrived.
Yeah.
Touche.
How old were you then, Candy?
I was probably, I would say maybe my early 30s, when, you know, people started recognizing me through my academy and my teachings of French cutting and balayage. And then I guess once I really started to see enormous change and shift in sort of the, just who I was the influx of social media, but more importantly, when I began my brand, Sunlight's Balayage. So when I started to do that and I was in the classroom and, you know, doing other things, then I was more known. As you know, Chris, I mean, you can be, you know, back before social media, you were just a big fish in your own town, right? And people knew of you. And if you were lucky enough to travel and teach a class, they started to know you from shows or stages or things like that. But you know, it wasn't real-time reality like social media is now. You know, people can know where you are right this second. You know, I could pick up my phone and show them you, right? So it took longer to trickle out. So I think when social media kind of hit, and I became the Ballet Lama, I was named by a student, actually, is why I got that nickname, the Ballet Lama. People ask me that all the time.
I love it.
It was like the Dalai Lama, the Ballet Lama, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that was, you know, obviously when I started my brand, which was about 7 years ago, that things really shifted.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just love it. So your father was mainly a cutter?
He did both. My father was, hair cutting and colorist.
Okay.
But back in the day when you worked with assistants, he would have a team of assistants. Most of them would apply the colors and do things. However, my father would still do it if he needed to. And
Sure.
again, he was big on the permanent wave days. I mean, my dad could wrap a perm in, record time because he was a hair setter. When you learn to set hair, you know how to perm hair. And then, so my salon is generalist. So we do everything. So we're trained to do both cut and color.
Yeah.
Which, some salons are departmentalized. And that was a big wave, as you remember, Chris, back in, I guess, what was it, like the 70s, early 80s, where people started dividing their businesses.
Yeah.
But we stayed with what we knew. And it's been really successful. I just have one salon, 50 chairs. 5,000 square feet, 50-year young family business.
Love it.
Yeah. And to be honest, Candy, I really believe that if you want to call yourself a hairdresser, you should be able to do everything.
Yeah, it's true.
I agree.
I think, when we departmentalize, we kind of lose the sense of what works on that shape. Or, if I color the hair first, can you cut it to that shape? It's, I think you really do, or we really do need to have an understanding of everything to do with hair.
I agree. I totally agree, because, yes, I agree. I agree highly.
Well, I think that one thing that I think about in the classroom with my student now is that, color, we spent so much time in our lives cutting the color, and now we're actually spending more time coloring the cut. Mm-hmm. And with balayage, obviously, which is what I'm known for, you cannot do the kind of work and be seamless and natural and do those types of things trying to do it and then cutting it all off. You can't follow that color with the cut. You have to follow, you have to cut before you color. And so it's a real big shift for my business, and it's been very successful because it's cut down on the time and made it a lot more efficient.
So Candy, on that note, how do you organize your bookings? Do you have a receptionist, presumably, with 50
right.
years? So how do they book your clients in for that?
Well, I run 2 or 3 columns, and I book a client every 30 minutes. So it's I'm sort of crazy because I do 25 guests a day. But in the salon, of a normal just hairstylist, if they work with an assistant, they'll book a color column and a cut column. And then, of course, their color will come out into the cut column. So for us, it's a system that has really worked. We train, I basically grow my own stylist. I love it that in Georgia, you don't have to go to beauty school. So I have an entire apprenticeship program that they can go through and be tested out for state board. Now, on that vein, I do continuing education in my academy in Atlanta. So when you say, do you have an academy? My academy is for, continuing education hours and for seminars and classes that are for French cutting and balayage to the already licensed stylist, right? That wants to come and get additional education. So we train our own, and through that culture, we train how to book and how to work more efficiently. So it's very different. French cutting, Chris, is extremely different than how you were trained. Mm-hmm. Your training, and of course that was my training too, the whole Vidal, the whole Trevor, that whole training was where I started. And then I began to shift that over when I started being more involved with Jacques Dessange, back in the day.
Yep.
And with Jean-Louis Deville and the Carita sisters and Alexandre Duparis and Bruno Pettini. These are names these kids have never heard. They need to look them up.
Sadly,
right?
Not unless they're sitting in one of my classes.
Yes, exactly. So needless to say, when we took on French cutting, we wanted to be different than everyone else in my city, which were quote unquote British hairdressers, as we would call them, parametric cutters. But nonetheless, so for us, it's just a system that we use. And it's been, highly successful and easily teachable, which is great, from a standpoint of, obviously time equals the value of money. And no one ever raises their hands that they want to work more hours and make less money. They want to work less and make more, right? As soon as my hairdresser gets booked 5 days a week, they want to go to 4, and so on. So, no, but anyway, it's a system that we teach, and balayage is very fast. So I paint a head of hair in less than 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know how you're doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Right. There's a lot of them out there that think they do, and they have no idea that you might be one of the masters in it. So it's really important for them that are watching this right now. And I certainly am sending a huge letter out tomorrow to all the academies that they look at. You got me all sweaty, taking my jacket off.
It's been a long time.
Because I love it. Give it to me. Give it to me.
He's coming out in a rash, Candy. That's what happens to Joe.
No, Candy, and I'm not just shitting you right now when I say this, of all the interviews we've had some very strong words that are directed to the youth in this industry, and you have nailed several layers of the importance, from Marcel to coloring to cutting, just to know what they are that they're doing. And I was just at the academy today, and I was talking to one of my educators, and I said, they don't listen when they're in the academy. They're not listening. And then when they get out and they get over into my salon, and I'm expecting them to know the sassoon, the French cutting, all the cutting systems that we do, and they struggle. And I want to choke. I want to choke, because I say this all the time. All they want to do is make hair purple. They want to go, grays, blue. Oh God, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, it is their freedom of expression. Here's what I would say to your student. I would say to your student, that stuff is great, but just remember, the kind of person that wants to wear that are hairdressers. And they don't pay you to do their hair. So there's very few, like, even in my own salon, as progressive as I am, I'm in the melting pot of the hottest area in Atlanta, Georgia. People are not breaking down my doors for rainbow colors. They're breaking down my doors for consumer-friendly commercial hair that they can wear. I wish more people would look like Chris. She looks amazing, right? But Chris, this. Americans are very conservative with their hair compared to the British or anywhere in Europe or anywhere. They're very, very conservative. So I say, keep your ego in the bank. That's where you want your ego. Quit worrying about trying to make these masterpieces that take you all day and you make no money.
Oh, God.
And just be more efficient with your time and work smarter, not harder, so that you can make a great living.
Yeah.
I didn't go into this industry to just be creative. I went into this industry to make some money, to have a great life. So I hope people, really tune into that and get your willies out, go into beauty school and do all that stuff and get crazy on your mannequin head and have fun. And if indeed you have that guest that walks in that wants that, then wonderful. You know how to do it. If you want to do avant-garde, great. Keep it on stage. Keep it behind a camera. Put it in a place that it belongs. But Tuesday morning, when you go to work, you need to be able to produce beautiful hair and make women happy.
That was so well said. That was so well said. You have just turned me on to a shot and a beer in a minute.
Candy, I'm going to ask you, I'm not sure you haven't answered this a million times already, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What's the most important lesson that life has taught you?
Wow. Well, I would say probably to be a good finder. I think that we've all can get very cynical in life, especially, creative people have a license for opinion, right? Everything's subject to opinion. And I think that what happens as a hairdresser, one thing that I've really tried to learn through the years is that now I try to find the good. You know, I try to circle back and go, okay, it's really easy to buy the bad and be negative and think, oh, well, this is not good enough, or this is not what have you. So I think life at this point in my journey has taught me that the more I find the good in things and live with a loving heart and be kind and not hateful and try to help people and pay it forward, the more reward I reap, you know, really. Because money makes you more of what you already are, right? You know, so just working on that person is really more important, and then the money will come. And, you know, it just makes you more of what you already are. So that would be what I would say.
Thank you.
Damn. I'm just like bubbling. I can't find anything
You're
else.
so funny. I gotta have dinner with you.
I would have dinner with you in like a hat drop. You know, because it's not about me, it's about you. And I will tell you one thing right now we have in common. I never really went to school either. I was kicked out of hair school in the first 6 weeks for trying to roll a joint out of perm papers. And my father was a barber, and I grew up with him, and that's how I learned. And I learned from my sister, and I never went to college. And, you know, I so relate to what you're saying. And then I end up with a salon, a spa, a school, and I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for what I've learned. I really have. One of my favorite academies I went to in England was Jingles. Do you girls remember Jingles?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That right there spun me around and made me realize, oh shit, anything's possible. You just got to get your creative juices on. Yeah. And I've been blessed. I really have. So hearing your story is like absolutely fantastic. Hearing about your dad is reminding me about mine that's not even around anymore. And I remember he also owned a bar. And any farmer that came in from the field at the end of the day and bought a case of beer, they got a free haircut the next day, and he took us along. So, and I sat and watched him cut hair all day long. So yeah, you and I could really chat, and we will. And I'm thankful that I'm meeting you like this, because I still come from strongly, like today, going in and meeting the new students. I mean, we have a big class that just started, and I just simply try to tell them, you guys, not only do you need to go follow me, follow YouTube, follow Chris. Now it's going to be you. But I'm not joking when I say that you are going to be not a forced iConixxx YouTube to watch, but you are freaking nailing it in a lot of the categories. And I am pleased to hear it come out of you, because they get tired of hearing it come out of me, right? And
but you know, you have to, I think we, you, me, Chris, and all of us, we have a moral obligation to let our stories be heard, and to let these young students really know that your forefathers and foremothers that before you have paved a beautiful way for a great lifestyle. I mean, when I was a young kid, my mom used to put me to bed at night while my dad was in the kitchen sitting around the table with people like Vidal Sassoon, Paul Mitchell,
no,
John and Susie Chadwick. I mean, come on, Chris, you remember the Chadwicks back in the day, and all those folks. And I used to go back down the stairs and hide and sit on the bottom stairs and just listen to the things. Horst Reckelbacker, who started Veda. You know, all these people that were influencers in my life. Those were real, what I call influencers. Now, no offense, everybody wants to be Insta famous, and everyone wants to be, now it's TikTok famous, right? Now it's getting ready to be Facebook Reel famous, you know. But I say to you that, you know, people ask me all the time, well, how many followers do you have? I said, look, let me tell you something. It's not about the followers, it's about the believers. And if you're building a clientele or a team or a culture, if you have a dream to have your own salon one day, or to become an educator, or to work platform work like you did, Chris, your whole life, I mean, your whole career. I mean, I used to get in the front row, just like watching. If that's your dream, then what you have to do is create your culture first. And and just find what is you and what is real and relatable about you, and quit trying to mimic what someone else is doing.
Yeah.
You know, I
Hear,
think that's
hear.
the part that bothers me right now, is everybody's just trying to watch what someone else is doing on Instagram and just trying to do them. You know, it's like,
Totally.
no, just do you. You know, people will follow. It's amazing how people really want to know your story. And if not everybody wants to know it, who cares? Some will, some won't. So what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hence our reason for building the iConixxx library, because how else would people who, you know, people that haven't even been born yet and people that have already been behind a chair 10 years, the chances of them knowing what collectively we went through to, like you said, Candy, very eloquently pave the way for them, they won't realize what they have until they've lost it. And, you know, I don't think our clients over the years have changed, but certainly as hairdressers, we have changed. And I feel that we need to reel it all back in, get serious again, realize what a service is, because otherwise you do not deserve to be in business. And
True.
you know, it's tough. And as a salon owner, you'll be the last one out of the door and the first one in the door every day. And no, you won't have the fanciest car out of your team because you probably pay them more than you pay yourself. But that's reality of being a salon owner. It's the reality of being in business. It's the reality of having the responsibility.
It's the risk,
carrying-
right? It's
Big
the
risk.
I mean, you
Big
know,
risk.
sometimes I love to hear the break room, oh, people are upset about this or that. And I say, look, you didn't put your breath on the line. You know, I've got the risk. And boy, if COVID-19 taught us anything was, you know, I often said through COVID was, obviously I have a salon that is a team-based, not team-based in other words, salary, but just we're team salon. I do not rent stations. And people, you know, asked me all these questions through COVID. And I said, you know, it's really interesting for you guys, you know, none of y'all said you needed a damn leader until you did, right? Like everybody's like, oh no, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be on my own. I want to make my own decisions. I want to make my own decisions. Well, then quit blowing up my phone, because all of you were blowing up my phone for the 3 months you were out of business because you didn't have a business strategy. You didn't have a business plan. You can't live from 1 week to the next. You're living from paycheck to paycheck. You have no slush fund. You have no war chest. You have no thing to protect your business. And I hate to sound that, you know, I just want people to realize that you signed up for that, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be a salon owner, fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But you better be, you know, dot your I's, cross your T's, and have your affairs in order. You know, just because you're good and creative and have a busy clientele at a very busy, prominent salon doesn't mean you could just pick it up and walk it across the street and expect the same thing. It's not going to happen, because leadership is a big thing, you know, and when people do that, I always say, don't forget, you're taking you with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Discipline is hard. Discipline is very, very hard.
I love it.
Very hard. You're so, what makes you happy?
Oh my gosh. Well, I know this is going to sound so just corny, but it really makes me happy when I'm in a classroom and people get it, you know, and the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh my gosh. And when I see them excited, I feel like that I've done my work, you know, that really makes me happy. I mean, it would be easy to say family, of course, my husband, my children. I have 3 children. I have a granddaughter now.
Yay!
All those things make me happy, but I will say to you, money is not my motivator. It is not my motivator. You know, it's the passion of seeing young people thrive and survive, and seeing a new kid, you know, come and shake their car keys at me and say, I just bought a new car, I just bought a new house, or I met the man of my dreams, or all those types of things. I mean, I really, that's something that always really makes me feel good. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if if our industry is not doing great things and thriving, I'm not really very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Candy, I'm going to interrupt. I want to take you back to Bali Lama. I want to take you back to possibly your very first balayage technique yourself. I want you to take me way back to the beginning when you thought, this is really frickin' awesome, and I'm going to make this something no one has made it yet. Like, take me back. How did it start? Why did it start? Who taught you? All that stuff.
Well, I love this question because I love to tell everybody that the first balayage I ever did sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awful. It was, I had lightener on the floor, on the ceiling, on me, in my mouth. I mean, I had it everywhere. Okay. So, but I will tell you, it defeated me at first. It really defeated me. And I wouldn't do it because if I wasn't really good at something, no, I'm not putting my name on it. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to embarrass myself. But what happened, what changed me was one day I looked over my shoulder and there was this girl behind me that picked up on it really quickly. And what did I see in her chair? My client. And that pissed me off. And from that moment forward, I said, oh no, you will not be defeated. You will not sit here for 1 second and say, I'm faster at foiling. I'm just going to do that. I forget about this balayage stuff. Well, anyway, so when I saw my client, it ticked me off, and I went home and I figured it out, and I practiced on my mannequin, and I mastered it.
What would you say was your biggest challenge at first? When you were first
just
starting?
Understanding my brush stroke and having the right product to work with, to be honest, which is what leads me to the next part of the story. So I went to the leading manufacturers and I said, look, guys, we need a balayage lightener. You can't paint hair with a foil lightener. It's got silica in it, and the sand is causing dots and spots all over these balayages. I'm from Georgia, and the natural resource in Georgia is red Georgia clay, and kaolin clay is what you use on china, like on porcelain. And it's also, you use it in skincare, and you use it on a magazine cover. A magazine cover has that shine to it. That's done with kaolin clay. So I have a little bit of an art background. And so I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I'll put clay in lightener and it'll make it adhere to the hair. And then it would be moist on the inside, just like when I used to go down to the lake when I was a little kid, and I would step in the red Georgia clay, and the sun had been beating down on it. It would be hard on the outside and soft in the middle. So I started playing around with it. And I went to the leading manufacturers and I said, hey guys, I'm on to something here. I've been working with a chemist and I've been trying to master this putting clay in lightener. And they said to me, you know what, Candy, balayage, it's just a fad. It's just a fad. It's going to be going away. It's like those feathers, it's not feathers in hair. And I said, you know what? No, it's not. Balayage is like the little black dress. It's not going anywhere. I'm telling you, I am onto something, because the power of the paintbrush paints softness and beauty and filter to women's hair. It makes them look younger. And I'm telling you, if I could make a woman look younger with a 20-minute paint job, so to speak, I really believe this is going to be the next shift in our industry, just like when Vidal took the scissor from long to short, and just like the cap came off and went to a foil. I really feel like this is going to be the next shift in our industry. And they said, well, I don't know. And they literally, I'm not kidding. I mean, I sat with all the suits of the boardroom, they all had their suits on, all their big, big conference room. I was scared out of my mind. I was thinking, oh my gosh, they'll never believe this. And they said, no, I'm sorry. We're just we're not ready. And I got in the car and I was so defeated. And I drove back to the airport with my son and I said, screw it. I'm going to do this myself. I put up $50,000 of my own money, and I put my heart and my soul and my passion into this product. And I figured that the risk I was taking, I could eat it up in my own salon and in my own academy, you know?
Sure.
And then I would make that money, not necessarily back, but in the sense that if it didn't work and I fell flat on my face, that I would just eat the product up in my own salon.
Sure.
Well, needless to say, the rest is history. You know, now everybody's got a clay lightener, and now there's a shortage of kaolin in the country, you know.
Interesting. I want to ask you, Candy, when you were learning how to balayage, were you with the Carita sisters?
No, actually, when I first started learning to balayage, Chris, I was doing it with a comb. And I had learned that through just Jacques Dessange method. I was not using the paddle and the brush like I use now. I don't do as much of the comb methodology as I do paddle brush. And I'd like to say that, you know, and believe me, balayage has been around for a long time, but I like to feel like I sort of Americanized it. And what I mean by that is I built a curriculum around it, you know, because freehand painting, I mean, you think about it just for one quick second. I often say, I know how ombre got created. And that was, everybody was freehand painting, but they couldn't figure out how to get the lightener all the way to the scalp because it's freehand painting. You're putting lightener by the scalp, and they were screwing it up, right? And it was bleeding and it was terrible. So they would just smudge everything, and they would do a smudge and then lots of lightness on the ends, right? And that was the trend. Like we started going through ombre, and then again, now it's, people do it all the way to the scalp, but it took a while. Mm-hmm. And so when I was first learning, it was with the comb. And then I started to play with the brush and the paddle, and then, you know, that sort of took off.
You know, I'm going to ask you, Candy, because I know tons of people, when they listen to you, will be so interested in how you teach this. And I know that you teach online. Could you send Cassie the links to where people can get hold of you to get onto your courses and onto your class?
Absolutely. I mean, Sunlight's Balayage, the Bali Lama. You can find out anything about my classes or the product or anything that we do. And now currently, Chris, I have 130 educators across the world. Our product is in 13 countries now.
Wow, and, one of those.
Yeah. So yeah. So Rebel Brands carries my product in the UK. But basically now we distribute it all over. And what I do is every year I take and create a Train the Trainer event where people through social media, they try out to become an educator on behalf of our brand. And that's how I vet them. I vet them through social media and through video. And then once I vet them, they come in and they do a 3 or 4 days with me, and we do intensive training. And then I create these budding entrepreneurs. Because if you think about it, now, Chris, you've worked for Redken, you've worked for lots of things through your amazing career. You know, what happens is a product line, a manufacturer, you know, they make a product and they say, okay, here's the product. We got the product. Now let me go find the educator who's going to teach on behalf of this product, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I like to think of myself as an education company that built a product. So I was an educator long before I was a manufacturer, right? So what I realized in that was if an educator, or you're teaching for a brand, and this is no offense to any manufacturer out there, that you're going to get your day rate no matter if you have 2 people in your classroom or 200 people in your classroom, right? So you really don't have any skin in the game. And so when I started to see the shift in our industry begin to pivot towards the entrepreneur, I decided that I would create this curriculum and put these people on the road on their own. So they sell their own tickets, they set up their own classes, they do all of it. I give them, you know, a Dropbox through all the collateral and video support that they need. But basically, they teach classes based on our curriculum all over the world. And I don't set up any of them. So
that's such a great idea, because also with your background as an educator, you know, it takes way more than just a product to be able to sell a product.
Right.
And so by vetting people in the way that you are, and by doing it online, you already can see what their presentation skills are like, what their body language is like, how they work to a camera, or et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It's a really great way of vetting them. Good for
Brilliant.
you. Take out the cynical thing. You know, look, I focus on this because I think it's really important for hairdressers to hear, especially for students to hear. You know, the world is changing, and a lot of folks think, well, you know, I don't want to work for anybody, right? Well, be careful with that, because I think, you know, you have to always have a common denominator, and you've got to have a mentor, you've got to have a coach, you've got to have somebody out there that you believe and you trust, or you'll just die on the vine. But I do believe that there's a certain semblance of taking a very talented stylist and letting them have their own breath, you know, and their own, you know, not necessarily their own way, but taking what Trevor taught you, or what someone taught you, and putting your spin on it, but still having a foundation of really core education that matters, and teaching them how to walk and talk and be and present, and, you know, and putting expectation out there. You know, one thing that I often say is, people do what you inspect, not what they do what you inspect, not what you expect, right? And if you just expect somebody to do something for you, they're not going to do it. But if they know that you're going to inspect it in a way that it's symmetrical with your company, they will follow it. Why? Because they have skin in the game. And it's them that takes the risk. And it's them that fail if their classes don't sell out. And it's them that have the challenges. So that's how I tried to shift it around. And it's been uber successful for us.
Yeah, and congratulations, you deserve it. And
oh,
you know,
my Lord.
all of what you said.
You are crazy cool.
They have
I have to stop. I'm going to rudely interrupt while I say, excuse me, while I go get a new pen. I just ran out of ink. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead, cutie.
I'm not sorry at all, Joseph, because you do it all the time. But
I can't help it. I can't help it.
Okay, just zip it for a second, okay?
Okay.
But Candy, you know what you were saying and how you've built your education business is absolutely incredible. I am so thrilled to hear all about it, because you have now provided these stylists with every single tool that they could ever need. And then you allow them the freedom to go out there and be themselves and put their own stamp on it. I mean, how cool is that?
Well, I think it's the wave of the future. And, you know, I mean, let's face it, we're combating Amazon now. You know, everybody's combating Amazon, whether you're a salon owner, whether you're an educator, and now it's the YouTube, which I think is all encompassing, right? It's all encompassing. Everything that we do now is so digital. Our salons took a huge hit through COVID with, you know, obviously online ordering. And if you can't beat them, you got to join them, and you got to figure out a way to still be relevant. Now, having said that, I do want to say to the student out there that there's nothing that beats a good old set of hands-on education. So don't you think that beauty school is online, because it is not. You have to get in the classroom with a mentor and a coach, an educator. You have to have that one-on-one. You need for somebody to move you around and put your hand in the right position. And you need somebody who leads by example in your life. So when you're feeling flat and you're feeling down and you're feeling negative, you know, you got to get back in the classroom. You know, a diploma did not graduate you to success. You know, you still got to invest in yourself every year through education. So digital is going to do part of it, Chris, but you definitely got to get in the classroom for sure.
And it's coming back. It's coming back. Classroom and workshop is coming back by April 2021. Spring is blossoming. All new Chris Sorby mannequin heads to work on.
great.
Oh, I totally agree with you, Candy. Well, I agree with Joseph about my mannequin heads for sure. But I agree with what you're saying, Candy. There is no there's no way that you can learn better than having someone guiding your
Come
body
on.
position.
There's no substitute for it.
No,
There's
absolutely.
shots in the arm, no doubt. You know, you can get a good shot in the arm online, and that can help you. It can be affirmation and confirmation that you're doing things, and it can help you. But to really be great is you got to get, you know, you got to hang out with great people. I mean,
Okay.
you did it, I did it. My whole career, I spent it in the model prep room. I wasn't invited a lot of times. I just stood there and said, can I help in any way? I'll hold your comb. I'll take out your trash. I'll sweep the floor. I'll get your lunch. I'll hold your bobby pin. I'll do anything. And I worked most of my career for free in those days, right? I mean, I can imagine the plethora of things that you've done in your career for nothing, Chris.
Yeah, of
right?
course. We all did, because all we wanted to do was learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And if you didn't attach yourself to the right people, there wasn't a school that you could go to, because they didn't exist in the way that they exist now.
Right.
And, you know, aren't we blessed with
Man.
that? And I thought, when you said about a shot in the arm, I thought you were talking about the COVID vaccine for a minute.
I know.
Oh, out of your mouth to God's ears, right?
Oh, please don't be the first at that either.
No, I won't.
No, no way. Candy, what trait do you have that you're most proud of?
Oh, gosh. I think I'm extremely organized. And I think, you know, I'm fast. I'm a fast hairdresser, and I'm organized. And I think that's taken me really far in life. You know, like I said before, I had a learning disability. So to be unorganized and have a learning disability is probably a license for failure. So I feel like being organized has really helped me. And because I'm quick, you know, I've always had I've been quick to launch. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times people think of a dream, or they dream up an idea, but they have failure to launch. And so, you know, I know that there's plenty of your listeners out there that have had 1,000 things that they've wanted to do or thought they could do, but just never got up and did it. I think that's helped me immensely in my career.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I would like to say to you, if you were in a time capsule and how many ever years from now, you know, a couple stylists dig up this time capsule that's somewhere around your father's yard somewhere, I'm sure, because he's so incredible. What would you like them to read about Candy Shaw?
I would like them to know that she was humble and giving and loving, and that she always was never too hard to take the criticism. In other words, I listened with the intent to learn, and that I go to work a student every day. And that's something I would hope that people would say about me, that I never had that, oh, well, I know it all attitude.
Right.
That I'm always pliable, you know, flexible.
I think that's brilliant. Well said.
I think you've arrived there, Candy. For sure.
Oh, God, Candy.
Thank you.
I don't know. You have just left me in awe. I cannot believe, in all the years I've been in the industry, I've heard of you and I've seen your product. I've just never had the blessings of being able to meet you in person. And I'm going to share something with you right now. I am around a lot of women, and I have been for 40 years. And the majority of women I've been around have been miraculously intelligent at running companies, at being Chris Sorby, at being Candy Shaw, at being my mom, had to put up with my dad, my wife, my daughters, my granddaughter. And if I can shove this in, I finally am getting a grandson, which is the first boy in the family in 25 years. So I can't wait to do some racetracks. But I want to say something. You are one of the most amazing individuals that I have met, and I'm not trying to pump air up your butt because I don't need to, because I believe that from this day forth, we will be friends more than what we have been, and certainly will be communicating, because there is a change happening in this industry. Students want to know what it is. They're willing to listen. They're reaching outside of their means in the academies. I see it. They're getting bored and monotonous information. There's just this movement going on, and I think with what had to happen through us with COVID, and it was challenging and it was difficult and it was not easy, but I really believe, I feel bad for the individuals that have lost their lives, but for the onion skin that is peeled away to expose this beautiful new inner being of what we're all going to be is so exciting. And I just see you catapulting off into so many other amazing areas, and I will do what it takes to get on your Christmas list, no matter what.
Send me your address. I'll send you some wine. Oh, you're sweet to say that.
I just think you're great. I love you. I love you dearly. I really do. You're amazing. You're brilliant. You're brilliant. Truly.
Well, you're sweet to say that.
That was an amazing segment.
But you know, I think I would always say to everybody, the teacher learns more than the student. You know, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should use them in direct proportion, right? You should listen with intent to learn, right? And so for the student out there that's in the beginnings, you know, surround yourself with major people and spend major time with major people, and spend minor time with minor people. You know, minor people just aren't going to get you where you want to go in life. So it doesn't mean to be rude and mean and bad. It just means that sometimes you have to make the sacrifice. You know, you have to do things that are sacrificing. I don't have all the answers, not even close. I make mistakes every day. You know, do I have do-overs? I mean, we could all sit around and talk about our do-overs. What would we do differently? I don't really think
our
I would
holidays.
do anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it made me who I am, right? But I will say that popular decisions aren't always right, and right decisions aren't always popular. And I know that I'm not always popular, you know, with my staff or with my educators or with my companies. Sometimes I have to say things that hurt and that are hard, but I also put my butt on the line for it. And I always want to live with integrity and grace. And I'm just not going to put my name on something that doesn't have those types of traits. So, you know, it's okay to not always be the most popular person in the room. You know, it's really okay. It's okay to speak your mind.
That is so awesome.
But be able to back it.
Yeah.
Be able to back it.
That is so awesome. Well, I thank you personally. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, but I really thank you. I'm going to be bumping you out an email personally. Just there's a few things I want to ask you, certainly. Sure. Related to the student, and possibly guide you and Chris for an hour in a classroom, could beat the shit out of these students and get them to realize how lucky that they are, because you've paved the way for them.
Well, I wouldn't beat them, but I would nurture them.
Yeah, of course. That was just something I had to say.
So what I can do, they'd have 2 mothers with paintbrushes in their hands.
That's right, honey.
Wouldn't that be fun?
It would. You know, I said that what this world needs right now, and I mean this in all due respect, Joseph, and I know that you would agree with me. Through all this COVID, what the world needed the most was a good mother. That's all. It just needed a good mother.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's my
true.
Being a mother carried my company and my salon. If it had not been, I don't really know if we would have survived, because I thought like a mother through the whole thing. You know, what would I want to do, or how would I want to take care of my kin, as they say in the South. You know, and I just took care of my people, and I knew that the rest would fall into place eventually. My daddy told me, you know, you don't have a warehouse full of tomatoes. You're not going to rot, you know, take care of your people, right? Think about it. You'll be okay.
I just want to, I just think that is the greatest saying. Have you ever heard that? I love that. You don't have a house full.
But
I love that.
You know what, Joseph, it can only come from a Southern man.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the first time that I ever went down south in America, and I think Atlanta was the very first place, I just fell in love with the peeps. Oh.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
Yeah, and the chicken.
Not the chicken. Well, I want you to come back, Chris, and I want you to come into, I'm sitting in my academy right now, and I want you and Joseph to come and use my academy anytime and share your message.
Oh,
please, come to Atlanta.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh.
We would love that.
You should. I'm a direct flight.
In a minute.
Thank you. At the moment, they're not allowing Brits into the US.
I know. Well, when you can travel, you need to come here. And when I can travel, I'm coming back to the UK. I had a beautiful time doing the big show over there. But I'm sure it's probably no longer right now.
No, it's not. But you're very welcome to come to our beautiful city of Oxford, which is where I live with my husband. And it's very historic. It's beautiful. It's where all the universities are.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Come and stay with us.
Well, let's do it.
Just don't.
You know, life is about relationships, and you just never know where you're going with them. Right?
Yeah. What did you say?
I said, just don't bring Joseph.
No, that's not true. You can come with us.
I'm more well behaved in person.
Well, then I don't want to go to dinner with you.
I'm telling you, Candy, you and I can hook up a lot easier as I'm flying over your state in the next couple months. So
yeah, please,
I'll keep you in the loop.
Just do a layover. Come to Atlanta and lay over. Come see our operation. I'd love to show it to you.
I would love to see it. I truly would. I really, really would. But I feel there's a future in what you can offer in some of the academies, and you as an icon need to bring the truth to the education of what they need to see, and not that it's bad on YouTube, but there are some individuals that will say that YouTube can sometimes dilute the actual procedure a bit. And I think there's something to be said about an original piece of art versus a copy.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And that's what I love about our academy is they get to actually spend the day in the salon with me, working on guests, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic because then they see it in true action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where the magic happens. You know that, Chris. I mean, you stood all those years, I mean, I know you stood behind every icon known to man. I know, and watched.
I feel like I have.
Yeah, you have. Candy, in closing, please do me a favor. I want you, when this YouTube goes up on live, please have your father watch it, and then let him know that this is a fairly legit documentary series, and we would really, really love to invite him just to hear his story. I think would be amazing. And you know what would be kind of cute, if I can say this, to have the both of you on it, but have him speaking, and maybe you could actually interview your dad.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be kind of cool, or is that boring?
No, I think that is amazing.
Yeah, so, I do too.
Yeah, just so you know, Candy, we do another form of iConixxx, which we call the chain reaction. And that would just be amazing to have you on there with your dad.
Oh my God.
And make sure to,
I would like him to find out.
Make sure, Joseph, to subscribe to my Candy Shaw YouTube channel. And I have a series called The Blunt Bob.
Oh.
Okay. And it's just basically candid conversations about business, the do's, the don'ts,
Is that on IG?
Yeah, so I am I'm Candy at the Bali Llama, obviously on Instagram, and then my YouTube channel is Candy Shaw. I'll just go through it. But I have another little mini series that I do called the Blunt Bob, and it's just 3 or 4 minutes of just business ideas, you know, things subjects I'll talk on, like
I love
hiring,
it.
firing, or
I love it.
those kinds of things. Just
I
mini
love it.
snippets. And then I have Tips and Tricks Tuesday with Candy too.
Oh, I
We'll
love
we'll totally promote the heck out of it. I swear.
Thank you.
And
Thank
so
you
let's
both
stay
for
in touch.
this gift.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you
much
for
for
this
coming. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You got a great heart, and I love where your placement is in life. I think you're definitely in your path, man. I love
Well,
it.
thank you. Well, I look
Love
forward to
it.
meeting you, and I'm going to take you up on that dinner offer.
Yep, I get to buy.
Okay, well, now just be careful because I like good wine.
Do they have wine at Popeyes?
No, they don't actually. They don't have BYOB either.
Oh,
No,
that's-
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And you know what? Who cares? It's
Well, who cares?
all worth it. So we'll
Well,
stay in touch, Candy.
love and light to both of you.
Yep. Thank you very much. Love you back. Peace.
Bye.
Talk
So-
soon.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Good to see you too. Thanks, my friend.